Today we are speedrunning Diary of a Wimpy Kid Rodrick rules. On speedrun.com you can speedrun reading books. And that's what I'm doing today. About a year ago I speedran reading Diary of a Wimpy Kid book 1 here. I got a time of 1 hour 24 minutes 16 seconds here. Yeah, it's actually 1 year and 4 days ago. And you can see for book 2 there's only one run here of 1 hour 21 minutes 43 seconds. If I could get below that, that would be pretty cool, and it would also be a little bit of improvement on this time here by like a few minutes, because each Diary of a Wimpy Kid book is the same amount of pages, 217. The world content in it may vary a tiny bit. However, each book should take around the same time to complete, at least in theory. So, I got a book here, as you can see. First of all, we gotta thank Collins here for owning this book before, and I guess Adrian G here did, and we also see Brendan over here. I'm not sure if Brendan was the original owner or if Adrian's was the original. Well, Collins would have been. I don't know. Anyways, you see this in the greatest condition. This is not in the greatest condition, and if there's anything that's missing, then I do have a physical copy of the book, so that I can read from it if necessary. Go to rules. And I may read a little bit more than necessary, which would be fine, you know. It's better to overread than underread. It's better to overread than underread, because if you underread, I don't think it would count. If you overread, it would still count. So, enough of that. Let's get into this. Over with. I guess Mom was pretty proud of herself for making me write in that journal last year, because now she went and brought me another one. But remember how I said that if some jerk caught me carrying a book with a diary on the cover, then they're gonna get the wrong idea? Well, that's exactly what happened today, Sissy. Now that Rodrick knows I have another journal, I better remember to keep this one locked up. Rodrick actually got a hold of my last journal a few weeks back, and it was a disaster, but don't even get me started on that story. Even without my Rodrick problems, my summer was pretty lousy. Our family didn't go anywhere or do anything fun, and that's Dad's fault. Dad made me join the swim team again, and he wanted to make sure I didn't miss any meets this year. Couldn't brain and no mostly Todd to stop shifting Greg, chatter. Dad's got this idea that I'm destined to be a great swimmer or something, so that's why he makes me join the team every summer. At my first swim meet a couple of years ago, Dad told me that when this umpire shot off the sawed pistol, I was supposed to dive in and start swimming, but what he didn't tell me was that the sawed gun only fired blanks, so I was a whole lot more worried about where the bullet was going to land, and I was about actually getting myself to the other end of the pool. Even after Dad explained the whole sawed pistol concept to me, I was still the worst swimmer on the team, but I did end up winning most improved at the World's Banquet at the end of the summer. That's only because there was a 10-minute difference between my first race and my last one, so I guess Dad's still waiting for me to live up to my potential. In a lot of ways, being on the swim team was forcing me in middle school. First of all, we had to be at the pool by 7:30 every morning. The water was always freezing cold, and second of all, we were all crammed into 2 lanes. So I always had someone on my tail trying to get around me. The reason we had to use 2 lanes was because swim practice was at the same time as a water jazz class. I actually tried to convince Dad to let me do water jazz instead of swim team, but he wouldn't go for it. Come on, ladies, get those arms up. This was the first summer the coach let us boys wear swim trunks instead of those skimpy racing trunks. My mom said Rodrick's hand-me-down bathing suit was perfectly fine. Ha 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 ha. After swim practice, Rodrick would pick me up in his Spain's fan. Mom had this crazy idea that if me and Rodrick spent quality time on the ride home every day, we wouldn't fight as much, but all I did was make things a lot worse. Rodrick was always a half hour late picking me up, and he wouldn't let me sit up front. He said the chlorine would ruin the seats, even though the fan sounded like 15 years old. Get in the back. Rodrick's fan didn't actually have any seats in the back, so I had to squeeze in with all the band equipment. And every time the fan came to a stop, I had to pray I didn't get my head taken off by one of Rodrick's drums. Gah! I ended up walking home every day instead of getting a ride from Rodrick. I figured it was better just to walk the 2 miles in to get brain damage right in the back of that fan. Halfway through the summer, I decided I was pretty much done with the swim team, so I came up with a trick to get out of practice. I would swim a couple of laps in there, I would ask the coach if I could use the bathroom there. I would just hide out in the locker room until practice was over. The only problem with my plan is that it was something like 40 degrees in the boys' bathroom, so it was even colder in there than it was in the pool. I had to wrap myself in toilet paper so I didn't get hypothermia. That's how I spent a pretty big chunk of my summer vacation. That's why I'm actually looking forward to going back to school tomorrow. When I got to school today, everyone was acting all strange around me. At first, I didn't know where was up. Scream. Then I remembered I still had the cheese touch from last year. I got the cheese touch in the last week of school, and over the summer I completely forgot about it. The problem with the cheese touch is that you've got it until you can pass it on to someone else. But nobody would even get in within 30 feet of me, so I knew I was gonna be stuck with the cheese touch for the whole school year. Luckily, there was a new kid named Jeremy Pindle in homeroom, so that took care of that problem right in my school. Jeremy, my first class was pre-algebra, and the teacher put me right next to Alex Arruda, the smartest kid in the whole class. Alex is super easy to copy off of because he always finishes his test so late and puts his paper down on the floor next to him. So if I ever get in a pinch, it's nice to know I can count on Alex to bail me out. Kids whose last names start with the first few letters of the alphabet get called on the most by the teacher, and that's why they end up being the smartest. Some people think that's not true, but if you want to come back to my school, I can prove it. Alex Arruda, Christopher Ziegel. I can only think of one kid who broke the last name rule, and that's Peter years ago. Peter was the smartest kid in the class all the way up until the 5th grade. That's when a bunch of us started giving him a hard time about how his initials sounded when he said them out loud. Teacher, the answer to that question is P-U, P-U, yeah, P-U, P-U. He says Peter doesn't raise his hand at all, and he's pretty much a C student. I guess I feel a little bad about the whole P-U thing and what happened to Peter, but it's hard not to take credit whenever it comes up. I started that. Anyway, today I got pretty decent C's in all my classes except 7th period history. My teacher was Mr. Huff, and something tells me he had Rodrick as a student a few years back. Just hopefully you'll be sitting in this chair next to my desk. Mom has been making me and Rodrick help out more around the house, and now the two of us are responsible for doing the dishes every night. The rule is that we're not allowed to watch any TV or play video games till all the dishes are done, but let me just say that Rodrick's the worst dishes partner in the world. As soon as the dinner is over, he goes upstairs to the bathroom, camps out there for an hour, and by the time he comes back downstairs, I'm already done. I'm ready to start. But if I ever complain to Mom and Dad, Rodrick always pulls out the same lame excuse: my body is on the schedule. I think Mom and Dad are too worried about my little brother Manny to get involved in a fight between me and Rodrick right now. Anyway, yesterday Manny drew a picture at daycare, and Mom and Dad got pretty upset when they found it in his backpack. Mom and Dad thought the picture was supposed to be of them, so now they're acting all lovey in front of Manny. I love you so much, and I love you so much. I knew who it was really supposed to be in the picture, me and Rodrick. We got into a big blowout over the remote control the other night, and Manny was there to witness the whole thing, but Mom and Dad don't need to find out about that. Another reason my summer was kind of lame was because my best friend Riley was on vacation pretty much the whole time. I think he went to South America or something, but to be honest with you, I'm not really sure. I don't know if this makes me a bad person or whatever, but it's hard to me to get interested in other people's vacations, and then we're gonna get on a boat and cruise down this river. Hey, have you ever noticed this fucker before? Besides, it seems like Riley's family is always traveling to some crazy place in the world, and I can never keep their trips straight. The other reason I don't care about Riley's trips is because whenever Riley comes back on one of his vacations, he always cramps it down my throat. Last year, Riley and his family went to Australia for 10 days, but from the way he acted when he got back, you'd think he'd lived there his whole life. Good day, mate. Another thing that's really annoying is that whenever Riley goes to some new country, he gets into whatever fad is going on over there. Like when Riley got back from Europe 2 years ago, he got hooked on this pop singer named Jossie, who I guess is some huge star or something. So Riley came back with his bags full of Jossie CDs and posters and stuff. Jossie, Wild Animal Heart. I took one look at the picture on the CD and told Riley that Jossie was supposed to be for 6-year-old girls, but he didn't believe me. Riley said I was just jealous because he was the one who discovered Jossie, and what made it really irritating is that now this guy was Riley's new hero, so if I ever tried to say anything critical at all, Riley didn't want to hear it. Jossie says you should respect your parents and follow your dreams. Speaking of foreign countries today in French class, Madame Rifrail told us we're going to be choosing pen pals this year. When Roger was in middle school, he had a 17-year-old girl from Holland as his pen pal. I know because I've seen the letters in his junk drawer. I like the sunshiny days and ice cream. Do you too? When Madame Raphael handed out the foams, I made sure I checked out the boxes that would give me a pen pal just like Rodrick's. But after Madame Raphael read over my phone, she made me start over and pick again. She said I had to choose a boy who was my age and he has to be French. I don't exactly have high hopes for my pen pal experience. Felipe. God, I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. Mom decided to stop making Rodrick pick me up after school, just like he picked me up after swim practice. I guess that means she didn't learn from that experience, but I did. So when Rodrick picked me up today, I asked him to please take it easy on the brakes. Rodrick said okay, but then he went out of his way to find every speed bump in town. Ouch. When I got out of the thing, I called Rodrick a big joke, and then it got physical. Mom saw the whole thing unfold from the living room window. Mom made us come inside, and she sat us down at the dinner table. Did she said me and Rodrick were going to have to settle our differences in a civil manner. Mom told me that in Rodrick we each had to write down what we did wrong, and then we had to draw a picture to go along with it. I knew exactly where Mom was going with that idea. Mom used to be a preschool teacher, and whenever a kid would do something wrong, she'd make him draw a picture of it. So I guess the idea was to make the kid feel ashamed of what he did, so he wouldn't do it again. I would not break the crowns because that makes the other children very sad. Well, Mom's idea might have worked great on a bunch of 4-year-olds, but she's gonna have to think of something better if she wants me and Roger to get along. I will not call Rodrick names. Bunny Rabbit, wah! I will not push Gregory, aye. The truth is, Rodrick can pretty much treat me any way he wants because he knows there's nothing I can do about it. See, Rodrick is the only one who knows about this really embarrassing thing that happened to me over the summer. He's been holding it over my head ever since. So if I ever tell on him for anything, he'll spill my secret to the whole world. I just wish I had some dirt on him to even things out. I do know one embarrassing thing about Rodrick, but I don't think it's gonna do me any good. When Rodrick was a sophomore, he was sick today. They did school photos, so Mom told Dad to mail in Rodrick's freshman picture for the school to use in the yearbook. Don't ask me how Dad screwed this up, but he sent in Rodrick's second grade picture, and believe it or not, it actually got printed. It was entitled Haley Andrew Heffley Rodrick Kills Hevel. Unfortunately, Rodrick was smart enough to rip that page out of his yearbook, so if I'm ever gonna find something to use it against him, I guess I have to keep digging. Ever since Mom assigned the dishes to me and Rodrick, Dad's been going down to the furnace room after dinner to walk on this miniature Civil War battlefield of his. Dad spends at least 3 hours a night down there working on that thing. I think Dad would be happy to spend a whole weekend working on his battlefield, but Mom has other plans for him. Mom likes to rent these romantic comedies, and she makes Dad watch them with her, but I know Dad is just waiting for the first chains to break away and go back down to the basement. Kiss Moosh. Whenever Dad can't be down in the furnace room, he makes sure his kids keep away from it. Dad won't let me or Rodrick go near his battlefield because he thinks we're gonna mess something up. And earlier today, I overheard Dad say something to Manny to make sure he doesn't go poking around back there either. I think I just heard some grunting noises coming from the furnace room. Riley came over to my house today. Dad doesn't like it when Riley comes over because Dad always says Riley is accident prone. I think it's because this one time Riley was eating dinner here and he dropped a plate and broke it. So now Dad has this idea that Riley is going to ruin his whole Civil battlefield in one clumsy move. Whenever Riley comes over to my house, he says he gets the same greed in the basement of off limits. Yes, so Riley's dad doesn't like me either. That's why I don't go over to his house much anymore. The last time I spent the night at Riley's, we watched this movie where some kids taught themselves a secret language that no grown-ups could understand. Beagle bottle group Bob bulk translation at exactly 2:30 p.m. Let's all drop our books on the floor. Me and Riley thought that was pretty cool when we tried to figure out how to talk in the same language the kids were using in the movie, but we couldn't really get the hang of it, so we made up our own secret language. Then we tried it out. Didn't know your dad paw smells paw. Your paw, dad paw smells paw, like paw, woman paw, hee hee hee. But Riley's dad must have But Riley's dad must have cracked our code because I ended up getting sent home after the assault, and I haven't been invited to spend the night at Riley's ever since. When Riley came over to my house today, he brought a bunch of pictures from his trip with him. He said the best part of his vacation was when they went on a river safari, and he showed me all these blurry pictures of boats and stuff. Now, I've been to the Round Kingdom amusement park a bunch of times, and they have this River Rapids ride where they have these awesome robot animals like gorillas and dinosaurs. If you ask me, Riley's family should have just saved the money and taken them there and said, did he see any sharks fighting giant tarantulas on your safari? No, and sharks don't fight tarantulas. Without Wild Kingdom they do. But of course, Riley didn't want to hear about my experiences, so he just gathered up his pictures and went back home. Tonight after dinner, Mom and Dad watched one of the movies he rented, but Dad really wanted to walk on the Civil War battlefield. When Mom got up to go to the bathroom, Dad stuffed a bunch of pillows under the blanket on his side of the bed to make it look like he was asleep. Mom didn't find out about Dad's decoy but until after the movie was over. She made Dad come to bed even though it was only 8:30, and now Manny sleeps in Mom and Dad's bed because he's afraid of the monster that lives in the furnace room. I thought I was done healing about Riley's trip, but I was wrong. Yesterday our social studies teacher asked Riley to tell the class all about his vacation. Today he came to school wearing this ridiculous costume, but what was even worse was when some girls came into Riley at lunch and started kissing his butt. Will you tell us more about your trip? See, hee hee. Heh. But then I realized maybe that wasn't such a bad thing after all, so I started parading Riley around the cafeteria because after all, he is my best friend. Riley, just got back from South Dakota, South America, whatever. Dad's been taking me to the mall every Saturday for the last few weeks. At first I thought it was because he wanted to spend more time with me, but then I realized he was just making sure he's out of the house for Rodrick's band practices, which I can totally understand. Rodrick is heavy metal band in practice in the basement on weekends. The lead singer of the band is this guy named Bill Walter, and me and Dad bumped into Bill on the way out of the door today. Morning, Mr. Heffley. Bill doesn't have a job, and he still lives with his parents, even though he's 35 years old. I'm pretty sure Dad's worst fear is that Rodrick's going to see Bill as some kind of role model and that Rodrick will want to follow in Bill's footsteps. So whenever Dad sees Bill, he just puts him in a bad mood for the rest of the day. The reason Rodrick found Bill to be his bane was because Bill got voted most likely to be a rock star when he was in middle school. When he was in high school, most likely to be a rock star, Bill Walter in a Wrencham. That hasn't really worked out for Bill yet, and I think I voted in a Retrum. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct, is in prison. Anyway, me and Dad went to the mall for a few hours today, but when we got back, Rodrick's band practice wasn't over yet. You could hear the guitars and drums from a block away, and there were a bunch of random teenagers hanging out in our driveway. I guess they must have heard the music coming out of the basement and got drawn to it, sort of like how moths get drawn to a light. When Dad saw all those teenagers in the driveway, he totally freaked out. Dad ran inside to call the cops, and Mom stopped him before he could dial 911. Mom said those teenagers won't do any harm and that they were just appreciating Rodrick's music, but I don't even know how she could say that with a straight face. And if you ever heard Rodrick's band, you know what I mean. Dad could have relaxed with all the teenagers out in our driveway, so Dad went upstairs and got his boombox, and he put in a classical music CD and let it play, and you would not believe how quickly the driveway cleared out after that. Dad was pretty proud of himself for thinking of that one, but Mom accused him of getting rid of Rodrick's fans on purpose. What, I can't enjoy my music too? Today on the car ride to church, I was making faces at Manny, trying to get him to laugh. I made this one face that made Manny laugh so hard that apple juice came out of his nose. Rahaha! But then Mom said you could have killed him. So once Mom put that thought in Manny's head, it was all over. See, this is the reason I get my disses for Manny. Every time I try and have a little fun with him, I end up regretting it. I remember when I was younger, when Mom and Dad told me I was getting a little brother, and I was really excited. After all this using and pushing around my Rodrick, I was definitely ready to move up a notch on the totem pole. Yeah, kick. But Mom and Dad has always been super protective of Manny, and they won't let me lay a finger on him, even if he totally deserves it. Like the other day, I plugged in my video game system and it wouldn't start. I opened it up and found out that Manny had stuffed a chocolate chip cookie in a disk drive. And of course, Manny used the same excuse he always used to do when he bakes my stuff. I'm only free. I really wanted to let Manny have it, but I couldn't do anything with Mom standing right there. Mom said she would have a talk with Manny, and they went downstairs. A half hour later, they came back up to my room, and Manny was holding something in his hands. I'm sorry, bubby. It was a ball of tinfoil with a bunch of toothpaste sticking out of it. Don't ask me how that was supposed to make up for my broken video game system. I went to throw the stupid thing away, but Mom wouldn't even let me do that. Your brother made that for you. The first chance I get, that thing's going in the trash, because mark my words, if I don't get rid of it, I'm gonna end up sitting on it. Even though Manny drives me totally nuts, there is one reason I like having him around. Ever since Manny started talking, Rodrick has stopped making me sell chocolate bars for his school fundraisers, and believe me, I'm grateful for that. Before, hello sir, would you like to help support Not Interested? Now, would you like some chocolates? How precious. Madame Refre. Why not just say Mrs. or Mr. Madame Ruffel made us write our first pen pal letters today. I got assigned to this kid named Manu Montpiel, and I guess he lives somewhere in France. I know I'm supposed to write in French, and Manadu is supposed to write in English, but to be honest with you, writing in a foreign language is pretty hard, so I really don't see the need for both of us to stress out over this whole pen pal thing. Dear Mamadou, Ooh. First of all, I think we should both just write in English to keep things simple. By the way, remember how I said I was gonna end up sitting on Manny's spiky tinfoil ball thing? Well, I was half right. Riley came over today to play video games, and he ended up sitting on it. I'm actually kind of relieved. To be honest with you, I lost track of that thing a couple of days ago, and I'm just glad it finally turned up. And in all the commotion, I threw Manny's gift in the garbage, but something tells me Mom wouldn't have stopped me this time. Rodrick has the English paper due tomorrow, and Mom's actually making him do it himself for once. Rodrick doesn't know how to type, so he usually writes his papers out on notebook paper and then hands them off to Dad. But when Dad reads over Roderick's work, he finds all sorts of factual errors. Well, for starters, Abraham Lincoln did right to kill a mockingbird. Roderick doesn't really care about the mistakes, so he tells Dad to just go ahead and type the paper like it is. But Dad can't stand typing a paper with errors in it, so he just rewrites Roderick's paper from scratch. And then a couple days later, Roderick brings his graded paper home and acts like he did it himself. This has been going on for a few years, and I guess Mom decided she's going to put it into it. So tonight she told Dad that Rodrick was going to have to do his own work this time around, and that Dad wasn't allowed to help out. Rodrick went in the computer room after dinner, and you could hear him typing about 1 letter per minute. I could tell that the sound of Rodrick typing was driving Dad totally bananas. On top of that, Rodrick would come out of the computer room every 10 minutes and ask Dad some dumb question. What's the spaceball again? After a couple of hours, Dad finally cracked. Dad waited for Mom to go to bed, and then he typed Rodrick's whole paper for him. So I guess this means Rodrick's system is safe, at least for now. I have a book report due tomorrow, but I'm really not sweating it. I found a secret to doing book reports a long time ago. I've been milking the same book for the last 5 years. Sherlock Sammy does it again. There are about 20 short stories in Sherlock Sammy Does It Again, but I treat each story like it's a whole book, and the teacher never notices. These Sherlock Sammy stories are all the same. Some grown-up commits a crime, and then Sherlock Sammy figures it out and makes a person look stupid. Your first mistake, Mr. Beasley, was when you forgot to convert Celsius to Fahrenheit. I'm kind of an expert at writing book reports by now. All you have to do is write exactly what the teacher wants to hear, and you're all set. Man, Sherlock Sammy is so smart, and I'll bet that's because he reads so many books. I'll bet you're right. There's a bunch of hard words in this book, but I looked them up in the dictionary, so now I know what they mean. I guess you're a bit of a sleuth yourself. A+. There was a kid named Chirag Gupta, who was one of my friends last year, but he moved away in June. His family had a big going-away party, and the whole neighborhood came. But I guess Shrug's family must have changed their mind, because today Shrug was back in school. Everyone was happy to see Shrug again, but a couple of us decided to have a little fun with him before officially welcoming him back. So he basically pretended he was still gone. Boy, I showed you Miss Shrug. Yeah, I wonder how he's doing. Hey guys, I'm right here. I have to admit, it was pretty funny. Did you just hear something? Nope. Must have been a win. At lunch, Shrug sat next to me. I had an extra chocolate chip cookie in my lunch bag, and I made a big deal about it. I wish Shrug was here. Oh, how he loves chocolate chip cookies. But I'm sitting right next to you. I'm not even that hungry. Okay, so maybe that one was a little cruel. Gobble gobble smack smack. I guess we'll probably let Shrug off the hook tomorrow, but then again, this invisible Shrug thing could turn into the next PU. Okay, so the invisible Shrug joke is still going, and the whole class is in on it now. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself or something, but I think I might have class clown in the bag for dreaming this one up. In science, the teacher asked me to count the number of kids in the classroom so she could know how many pairs of safety goggles to get out of the closet, so I made a big show of counting everyone in the room except Shrug. 33, 34, there are 34 people in this class. Well, that really set Shrug off. He got up and started yelling. It was really hard to stare straight ahead and act like he wasn't there. I am a human being too. I wanted to tell him that we never said he wasn't a human being. It's just that he's an invisible human being, but I managed to keep my mouth shut. Before you go and say I'm a bad friend for teasing Shrug, let me just say this in my own defense. I'm smaller than about 95% of the kids at my school, so when it comes to finding someone I can actually pick on, my options are pretty limited. And besides, I'm not 100% to blame for dreaming up this idea. Believe it or not, I got the idea from Mom. This one time when I was a kid, I was playing under the kitchen table and Mom came looking for me. Has anyone seen Gregory? I don't I don't know what made me do it, but I decided to play a joke on Mom and stay hidden. Mom went all around the house calling my name. I think she must have finally seen me under the kitchen table, but she still pretended she didn't know where I was. Poor Gregory, all alone in the snow. Oh, boo-hoo-hoo. I thought it was pretty funny. I probably would have stayed hidden under there for a little while more, but Mom finally got me to crack when she said she was going to give my gumball machine to Rodrick. So if you want to point fingers on the official Shrog joke, now you know who's really to blame. Well, yesterday Shrog pretty much gave up on trying to get in our class to talk to him, but today he found our weakness. Raleigh, do you think I exist? Nope, I can't even hear you or see you. I forgot all about Raleigh. When the jokes first started up, I made sure to keep him away from Shrog because I had a feeling Raleigh would blow the joke, but I guess I kind of got too cocky and let my guard down. Shrog started working on Raleigh at lunch, and he came really close to getting him to crack. If you say I exist, this cone dog is yours. So I could tell Raleigh was about to say something, so I had to act quick. I told everyone there was a floating cone dog hovering above our lunch table, and then I plugged it out of the air and ate it in 2 bites. So thanks to my quick thinking, we were able to keep the joke going. Gobblesome act not as good as the regular kind though, but that really made Shrog mad. He started punching my arm, but of course I had to pretend like I didn't notice. And let me tell you, that wasn't easy to do. Shrog may be smart, but that kid can really punch. There's still a flea breathing on me because it feels like a tiny little flea is breathing on me. Well, I guess Shrog must have complained to a teacher about my little joke because today I got called down to the front office. When I got to the Vice Principal Roy's room, he was pretty mad. He knew all about how I started the joke, and he gave me a speech about respect and decency, all that. But luckily, Mr. Roy got one crucial fact wrong, and that was the identity of the person we were playing the joke on. So I made the apology part a whole lot easier. I'm deeply sorry, and now I do indeed admit that you exist, Sharif. Mr. Roy seemed pretty satisfied with my apology and let me go without even tacking on any decision. I always thought that when Mr. Roy is done chewing a kid out, he sends him off with a pat on the back and a lollipop, and now I can tell you firsthand that is true. Well, Riley's birthday party is tomorrow, so Mom took me to the mall to get him a gift. I picked out this cool video game that just came out, and I handed it to Mom so she could pay for it, but Mom said that I had to buy it with my own money. I told Mom that first of all I have zero money, and second of all, if I did have any money, I wouldn't be wasting it on Raleigh. Mom didn't seem too happy with what I said, but it's not my fault I'm broke. I actually had a job this summer, but the people I worked for tipped me, so I didn't own a single penny. We have these neighbors named Foes who live a few doors up, and they go away on vacation every summer. They usually leave their dog Princess in a kennel, but this year they told me they would pay me $5 a day to feed Princess and take her out. I figured I'd own enough to buy a whole pile of video games with that kind of money. But I guess Princess is gun shy about going to the bathroom in front of strangers, so I ended up spending a lot of time standing around in the hot sun waiting for this dumb dog to hurry up and go. Come on! I'd rate and nothing would happen, and then I'd just take Princess back inside, but every time I'd leave, Princess would make a big mess in the foyer, and I had to clean it up the next day. Towards the end of the summer, I got smart and realized it'd be a whole lot easier to just clean up all Princess's messes at once instead of doing it every single day, so I fed her and let her do her business on the foyer flow for about 2 weeks, and then the day before the Fools were due back, I headed up the hill before my cleaning supplies. But guess what? The Fools cut their trip short and got home a day early. I guess they didn't know that it's polite. I guess they didn't know it's polite to call ahead and let people know when your plans has changed. Tonight, Mom called a house meeting with me and Rodrick. She said that the two of us are always complaining that we don't have enough money, so she came up with a way for us to earn some cash. Then she pulled out some play money she must have dug out of a board game, and she called the money Mom Bucks. Mom said we could own Mom Bucks by doing chores and good deeds and stuff like that, and we could trade them in for real money. Mom handed us $1,000 each to get us started. I thought I struck it rich, but then she explained that each Mom Buck was only worth a penny of real money. Mom told us how we should save up a Mom Bucks, and if we were patient, we could buy something we really wanted, but Rodrick cashed in his whole stash before Mom was even done talking. Then he went down to the convenience store and blew his money on some heavy metal magazines. If Rodrick wants to waste his money like that, he can go right ahead, but I'm gonna be smart with my Mom Bucks. Today was Riley's birthday party, and he had it at the mall. I'm sure I would have thought it was a lot of fun if I was about 7 years old. That was the average age of the kids at Riley's party. Riley invited his whole karate team, and most of those kids are still in elementary school. I just wish I would have known what the party was going to be like, so I could have skipped it. We started off playing these dopey party games like Pin the Tail on the Donkey and stuff like that. The last time we played was hide and seek. My plan was just to hide in a ball pit and stay there until the party was over. But some other kid was already in there. Oh, it turned out this kid wasn't from Riley's party. He was from the last birthday party that happened an hour earlier. I guess he must have hidden there during hide and seek, and nobody ever found him. So Riley's party had to be put on hold while the staff tried to track it down on this kid's parents. After that situation got cleared up, we had cake and watched Riley open his gifts. He mostly got a bunch of kids' toys, but he seemed pretty happy about it. Yay! Then Riley's parents gave him their present, and guess what? It was a dowry. It kind of ticked me off because I knew Riley asked his parents for a dowry so he could be just like me. After Riley opened his presents, he said we can call ourselves the dowry twins. I let him know exactly what I thought of that idea by slugging him in the arm, and I really don't care that it was his birthday either. Ow! One thing I'll say though is I used to be mad at Mom for getting me a drone that looked too girly, but after seeing Riley's diary, I'm not so mad anymore. Sweet Secret's diary. Lately, Riley has been totally writing me. He reads the same comic books I read, drinks the same kind of soda I drink. You name it. Mom says I should be flattered, but to be honest with you, it's totally creeping me out. A couple of days ago, I did an experiment to see just how far Riley would go. I rolled up one of my paint legs and tied a bandana around my ankle and went to school that way. Sure enough, the next day, Riley came to school wearing the same exact thing, and that's how I ended up in Vice Principal Roy's office for the second time in a week. There are some thugs outside my house sporting gang colors. I thought I was totally in the clear for the invisible Shrog thing, but boy, I was wrong. Tonight, Mom got a call from Shrog's dad. Mr. Gupta told Mama about the prank we were playing on his son and how I was the ringleader. When Mom questioned me, I told her I didn't even know what Shrog's dad was talking about. Then Mom marched me up to Riley's house to hear what he had to say. Luckily, I was prepared for this kind of thing. I had already drilled Riley on what to do if we ever got busted, and that if we both just denied everything, we would be okay. But the second Mom started asking Riley questions, he broke down. So after our visit to Riley's house, Mom drove me over to Shrog's to apologize. And let me tell you, that wasn't a whole lot of fun. Mr. Gupta didn't seem too impressed with my apology, but believe it or not, Shrog was actually pretty cool about it. After I apologized, Shrog invited me inside to play video games. I think he was so relieved to finally have one of his classmates talking to him again that he just decided to forgive me for the whole incident, so I guess I forgive him too. Even though Shrog let me off the hook last night, Mom wasn't done with me yet. She wasn't really that mad about the joke about I treated Shrog. She was just mad that I lied about it. So Mom told me she would ground me for a month if she catches me lying again. And that means I better watch my step because Mom's not gonna forget what she said. When it comes to my screw-ups, Mom has a memory like an elephant. That's the second time you tracked money into the kitchen. First time 6 years ago. Last year, Mom caught me lying and I paid the price for it. Mom made a gingerbread house a week before Christmas and she put it on top of the refrigerator. She said nobody was allowed to touch it until Christmas Eve dinner, but I couldn't help myself, so every night I'd sneak downstairs and pick off a little piece of the gingerbread house. I tried to only eat a tiny piece each time so Mom wouldn't notice. It was really hard to limit myself to one gumdrop or one little crumb of gingerbread each night, but I managed to do it anyway. I didn't know how much I had actually eaten until Mom took it down the fridge on Christmas Eve. When Mom accused me of eating on the candy, I denied it, but I wish I just fessed up right away because that fib totally backfired on me. Mom had just gotten hired to write a Pelton column for the local newspaper, and she was always looking for materials. So the incident pretty much made me into a local celebrity. Susan heavily when your child is being deceptive. The weeks leading up to Christmas can be a source of stress for a child and harbor unforeseen temptations. My son Gregory found that. Now that I think about it, Mom isn't exactly squeaky clean when it comes to being honest with herself. I remember when I was a kid and she found out I wasn't brushing my teeth every night. She faked a call to the dentist's office, and that call is the reason why I still brush my teeth 4 times a day. Mr. Cracks, do you have dentals for little boys? Only wooden ones? I guess I'll have to do then. Well, it's been 3 days and I've kept my promise to Mom. I've been 100% honest the whole time, and believe it or not, it's not that hard. hard. And in fact, it's kind of liberating. And I've been in a couple of situations already where I was a lot more honest than I would have been a week ago. For example, the other day I had a conversation with this neighborhood kid named Sean Sneller. When I grow up, I'm gonna be a professional basketball player. Well, take again, Sean. Neither one of your parents is taller than 5'2", and you're the only 200-pound 6-year-old I know. Wow, I cannot tell a lie. And yesterday, Riley's family had a birthday party for his grandfather. Next year, I want a chocolate cake. That is if you're alive next year. Hey, I'm just trying to be realistic. Most people don't seem to appreciate a person as honest as me, so they asked me how George Washington ever got to be president. Today I answered the phone. It was Mrs. Gilman from the PTA looking for Mom. I tried to handle the phone, but she whispered for me to tell Mrs. Gilman that she wasn't home. I couldn't tell if Mom was trying to trick me into lying or what, but there was no way I was going to break my honesty streak over something as dumb as this. So I made Mom go out on the front porch before I said a word to Mrs. Gilman. My mother is not inside the house right now, and from the look Mom gave me when she came back in the house, I kind of get the feeling she's not going to hold me to that honesty pledge anymore. Today was career day at school. They have career day every year to get us kids who start thinking about our future. They brought in a bunch of adults who had all these different jobs. I think the idea is that us kids will find out about a job we like, and then we'll know what we want to be when we grow up. But what really happens is that you just find out which jobs to rule out, and that's why I love being an electrical engineer. After the presentations, we had to fill out these questionnaires. The first question was, where do you see yourself in 15 years? I know exactly where I'll be in 15 years, in my pool and my mansions account and my money, but there wasn't any check boxes for that option. The questionnaires are supposed to predict what kind of job you're going to have when you grow up. When I was finished, I look at my job on the chart and I got clocked. Well, there must be something wrong with the way they set up these forms or something, because I don't know any clerks who are billionaires. Some of the kids were unhappy with the jobs they ended up with too, but the teacher said we shouldn't take these things too seriously. Well, try telling that to Edward Measley. Last year we got sanitation working on his job chart, and the teacher had been treating him different ever since. Edward, could you please clean up this juice spill? Riley got notes on his job chart, and he seemed pretty happy about it. A couple of girls got notes too, and they were chatting away with Riley after class. Next year I have to remember to sit next to Riley and copy his job form so I can get on some of that action. Me and Rodrick were just sitting around the house today, so Mom sent us over to Grandma's to rake her leaves. Mom should pay us $100 in Mom bucks for each bag refilled, plus Grandma said she'd give us hot chocolate after we were finished. I really didn't feel like working on the Saturday, but I needed the cash. Besides, Grandma makes really awesome hot chocolate, so we got some rakes and plastic bags from our garage and headed down to Grandma's house. I took one side of the yard and Rodrick took the other, but 10 minutes into the job, Rodrick came over and told me I was doing everything all wrong. No. Rodrick said I was putting way too many leaves in each bag, and that if I just tied the bag closer to the bottom, I could get done a lot quicker. See, now this is the kind of advice you're supposed to get from your older brother. After Rodrick showed me that trick, we went through bags like nobody's business. In fact, we ran out in half an hour. Grandma didn't seem too happy about forking over the hot chocolate when we came inside, but like they said, a deal's a deal. After since career day, Riley's been spending lunch with a bunch of girls who sat at the corner table in the cafeteria. I guess the group of them is like the future nurses of America or something. Don't ask me what they talk about over there. They just whisper and giggle like a bunch of first graders. Piss, hee hee hee. All I can say is they better not be talking about me. You remember how I said Rodrick's the only one who knows about that really embarrassing thing that happened to me over the summer? Well, Riley knows the second most embarrassing thing that ever happened to me, and I really don't need him taking him back up. Back in 5th grade, we had a project in Spanish where we had to do a skit in front of the class, and my partner was Riley. We had to do the whole skit in Spanish. Riley asked me what I would do for a candy bar, and I said I would stand on my head. But when I tried to do a headstand, I tipped over and my rear end went right through the wall. It spattered in me, ay. But the school never bothered to fix the hole, so for the rest of my time in elementary school, my butt print was on display in Mrs. Casale's room. And if Riley's spreading that story around, believe me, I'm gonna tell the whole world who ate the cheese. Today I realized that if I wanted to know what Riley and those girls are talking about at lunch, all I had to do is read his diary. I bet he's writing down all sorts of juicy gossip in that thing. The problem is Riley's diary is locked, so even if I got a hold of it, I wouldn't have any way to open it. But then I thought of something. All I had to do was buy the same exact diary he has. and now I'd have a key. So I went to the bookstore tonight and got the last one on the shelf. I just hope buying this thing was worth it because I had to cash in half of my mom bucks to pay for it, and I don't think I was too thrilled with the idea of me buying a sweet secret diary either. At the fifth set today, I saw that Riley accidentally left his diary on the bench, so when the coast was clear, I used my new key on his diary, and sure enough, it worked. I opened it up and started reading Dear Diary. Today, I played with my Dino Blazer action figures again. It was Meganex versus Cyclops, and Mechanex by the Cyclops in the tail. Oh, darn. And then Cyclops turned around and said, "Oh yeah, how do you like that?" And he shot Mechanex right in the hiney. Oh, ow, no fail. I flipped through the rest of the book to see if my name was in anywhere, but it was just page after page of this garbage. After seeing what's going on in Riley's head, I'm kind of starting to wonder why I'm even friends with him in the first place. Things at home have been really good for about a week. Rodrick has the flu, so he doesn't have the energy to bother me, and mainly has been at grandma's, so I had the TV all to myself. Yesterday, Mom and Dad made a surprise announcement. They said they were going away for the night and that me and Rodrick were in charge of the house. That was some pretty big news because Mom and Dad have never left me and Rodrick on our own before. I think they've always been afraid that if they go away, Rodrick's going to have a huge party and trash the house. But with Rodrick knocked out with the flu, they must have seen a big change. So after Mom gave a speech about responsibility and trust and all that, they took off. The second Mom and Dad walked out the door, Rodrick jumped off of the couch and picked up the phone. Then he called every friend he knew and told them that he was having a party. I thought about calling Mom and Dad to tell them what Rodrick was up to, but I've never actually been to a high school party before, so I was curious. So I decided to just keep my mouth shut and soak it all in. Rodrick told me to get some folding tables out of the basement and bring a couple of bags of ice out of the downstairs freezer. And Rodrick's friends started to show up around 7, and before he knew it, there were cars parked up and down the street. The first person to walk through the door was Rodrick's friend Road. A bunch more people started showing up after that, and Rodrick told me we were going to need more tables, so I went downstairs to get them. But as soon as I stepped foot in the basement, I heard the door locked behind me. I pounded on the door, but Rodrick just cranked up the music to drown me out, so I was stuck down there. Man, I should have known Rodrick would go and pull something like that. I guess it was pretty dumb for me to think Rodrick was going to let me in on the action. It sounded like it was a pretty wild party. I think some girls even showed up at one point, but I couldn't be too sure because it was hard to keep track of what was going on from just looking at the bottoms of people's shoes. The party was still going strong at 2 a.m., but that's when I gave up. I spent the night in one of the spare beds in the basement, even though there were no blankets on it. I practically froze dead, but there was no way I was going to use a blanket from Rodrick's bed. Somebody must have unlocked the basement door overnight because when I woke up this morning it was open, and when I walked upstairs it looked like a tornado has touched down in the family room. The last of Rodrick's friends must have gone until 3 in the afternoon, and once everybody left, Rodrick told me that I had to help him clean up. I told Rodrick he was out of his mind, that he thought I was helping, but then Rodrick said that if he got busted for the party, he was taking me down with him. He said if I didn't help him clean up the mess, he would tell all my friends about the thing that happened to me this summer. I couldn't believe Rodrick would play dirty like that, but I could tell he was serious, so I just got to work. Mom and Dad was supposed to be back by 7, and we still had a ton of work to do. It wasn't easy to erase all the evidence of the party because Rodrick's friends had left trash in all these crazy places. At one point, when I went to make myself a bowl of cereal, a half-eaten piece of pizza fell out of the box. By 6:45, we had things pretty well wrapped up. I went down upstairs to take a shower, and that's when I saw the message written on the inside of the bathroom door. Hi, Rodrick. I tried scrubbing the writing off with soap and water, but whoever wrote that thing must have used a permanent marker. Mom and Dad were going to be home any minute, so I thought we were doomed, but then Rodrick had a genius idea. He said we could switch the door out and replace it with a closet door from the basement, so we got some screwdrivers and went to work. We finally managed to get the door off its hinges, and then we carried it downstairs. And then we got the closet door from Rodrick's room in the basement and brought it upstairs. We made it with no time to spare. Mom and Dad's car rolled into the driveway right when we were tightening the last screw. You could tell they were pretty relieved the house hadn't burned down while they were away. I don't think we were totally out of the woods just yet, because with the way Dad was poking around tonight, I'm sure it wouldn't be long before he figures out about the party sniff. Well, Rodrick must have lucked out this time, but all I can say is he should be glad Manny wasn't there to see the party. Manny's a huge tattletale. In fact, he's been telling on me ever since he could talk. He even told me on me for stuff I did before he could talk. When I was a kid, I broke the sliding glass door in the family room. Mom and Dad didn't have any evidence that I was the one who did it, so they couldn't peg on me, and I was in the clear, but Manny was there when it happened, and 2 years later he screwed on me. Bubby throwed walk at big window. So after Manny started talking, I had to worry about all the bad things he saw me do when he was a baby. I used to be a big tattletale myself until I learned my lesson. One time I told on Rodrick for saying a bad word. Mom asked me which word he said, so I spelled it out, and it was a long one too. Well, I ended up getting a bar of soap in my mouth for knowing how to spell a bad word, and Rodrick got off scot-free. Tomorrow I have an English assignment due, where I have to write an analogy. That's basically a story that says one thing but means something else. I was having trouble getting inspired, but then I saw Rodrick outside working on his fan, and I got an idea. Rolly screws up by Greg Catholic. Once upon a time, there was this monkey named Roy. The family he lived with loved him very much, even though he was constantly screwing things up. One day Rory accidentally rang the doorbell, and everyone thought he did it on purpose, so they gave him some bananas as a reward. You're so smart, Rory. Eat. But now Rory was going around thinking he was some sort of monkey genius or something, and one day he heard his owner say, "My dang car is broke." So Rory's primitive mind raced to formulate a plan, and here's what he eventually came up with. Rory fixed car. Rory worked all day and night, and to make a long story short, the end of himself is not a fixed car. Rory, after it was all over, Rory has learned a very valuable lesson. Rory's a monkey, and monkeys don't fix cars. The end. After I finished my paper, I showed it to Rodrick. I figured he wouldn't get it, and sure enough, I was right. Monkeys don't understand English, stupid. Like I said before, Rodrick knows he's got me under his thumb with this secret thing, so I have to get my licks in any way I can. Today was Manny's first day of preschool, and apparently he didn't go so great. All the other kids in Manny's school started back in September, but Manny wasn't potty trained until last week, so that's why he had to wait until now to make the jump from daycare. Manny's preschool was having the Halloween party today, so it wasn't the greatest way to introduce him to his classmates. Manny's teachers had to call Mom at work and have her come get him. I remember my first day of preschool, I didn't really know anyone, so I was pretty scared about being around a bunch of new kids, but this boy named Corinne came right over and started talking to me. "Do you like ice cream?" "Yeah." "So then why don't you marry it?" I did get it as a joke, so it really freaked me out. I told Mom I didn't want to go back to preschool, and I told her all about Corinne and what he said, but Mom told me Corinne was so sweet and silly I didn't need to listen to him. After Mom explained the joke, I actually thought it was pretty funny. I couldn't wait to go back to school the next day and try it out myself, but it didn't really have the same effect. We're gonna grow up and get married to some ice cream, ha! It's been over a week since Rodrick's party, and I've stopped worrying that Mom and Dad were gonna bust us for it. But remember that bedroom door we stretched out? Well, I forgot all about it until tonight. Rodrick was upstairs in my room bugging me, and Dad ran into the bathroom. A couple seconds later, he said something that made Rodrick stop cold. "Hey, didn't this door used to lock?" I thought it was over. If Dad knew about the door, it was just a matter of time before he found out about the party. But Dad didn't put 2 and 2 together. I must be losing my marbles. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad if Mom and Dad found out about a party. Rodrick would get grounded, which would be awesome. So if I can figure out a way to spill the beans without Rodrick finding out, I'm gonna go for it. I got my first letter from my friend's pen pal, Mamadou, today. I decided to adjust my attitude and give this whole pen pal thing my best effort. So when I wrote back to Mamadou today, I tried to be as helpful as possible. "Dear Gregory, I'm very privileged to make your acquaintance, Mamadou. Dear Mamadou, I'm pretty sure acquaintance doesn't have a C in it. I really think you need to work on your English. Sincerely, Greg." I think it's dumb that Mamadou Lefray wouldn't let us use email with our pen pals. Albert Murphy has already written back and forth with his pen pal a bunch of times. It's costing them a lot of money in stamps. Dear Jax. How old are you? Dear Albert, 12. Dear Jax. Costs $14. Tonight, Riley's parents went out to dinner, so they got him a babysitter. I don't know why Riley came to Swass himself for a few hours, but believe me, I'm not complaining. Riley's babysitter is Heather Hills, and she's the prettiest girl at Crossland High School, so whenever to Jefferson School, I always make sure to be up at Riley's for story time. Can you scooch up for a little bit? Sorry, there's not really enough room. I went up to Rally's at about 8 tonight. I even splashed on some of Rodrick's cologne to make sure I made a good impression on Heather. I knocked on the door and waited for Heather to answer, but I was caught a little off guard when Rally's next door neighbor Leland answered and said, "Hello, scream!" I can't believe Riley's parents switched babysitters from Heaven to Leland. They should have at least checked with me before doing something stupid like that. But once I realized Heather wasn't there, I turned around to go back home, but Riley asked me if I wanted to hang out and play Magic and Monsters with him in Leland. The only reason I said yes was because I thought it was some kind of video game, but then I found out they play with pencils and paper and these special dice, and that you were supposed to use your imagination or whatever. It actually turned out to be pretty fun, mostly because in Magic and Monsters, you can do all sorts of stuff you could never do in real life. I like Riley's eyebrows with a toast. Ouch. When I got home, I told Mom all about Magic and Monsters and how Leland was a really awesome dungeon keeper. Rodrick overheard me talking about Leland, and he said that Leland is the biggest known at his high school, but this is coming from a guy who spends his Saturday nights putting fake fur up on people's cars in the Home Depot parking lot, so I think I'll just take Rodrick's opinion for greater shot. Ha ha ha, what the heck? I've been going up to Leland's house every day after school to play Magic and Monsters. I was heading up there again today, but Mom stopped me at the door. Mom's been acting real suspicious of this whole Magic and Monsters thing, and from the questions she's been asking me, I think she must think Leland's teaching me and Raleigh witchcraft or something. So today, Mom said she wanted to go with me to Leland's to watch us play. I begged Mom not to come because, first of all, I know she would never approve of all the foulings in the game, and second of all, I knew that having her in the room would totally ruin the whole experience for everyone. When I begged Mom not to join us, it made her even more suspicious, and now there was no trace in her mind. Riley and Leland couldn't have cared less that Mom came with me, but I couldn't enjoy myself because I felt like a total dog playing in front of her. My wristled Talok utters the spell of Tarun. I figured Mom would eventually get bored and just go home, but she stuck around, and right when I thought she was finally gonna leave, Mom said that she wanted to join in the game, so Leland started to set up a character for Mom, even though I was trying to signal to him that it was a big mistake. When Leland created a character for Mom, Mom told Leland she wanted her character to be my character's mother in the game. I did some quick thinking and told Mom that all the characters in Magic and Monsters are orphans, so she couldn't be my mother, and Mom believed me, but then she's asked Leland if she could name her character Mom, and he said yes. I have to give Mom credit for figuring out that loophole, but it totally ruined the rest of the game for me. I handed a turkey leg to Mom. Thank you, sweetie. Even though Mom wasn't technically my mother in the game, she sure acted like it was. She was. At this one point, our characters were hanging out in the tavern, waiting for a spy to arrive, and my drove Grimlawn ordered a pint of mead. Mead is sort of like beer in Magic and Monsters, so I guess Mom did approve of that. Mom accidentally bumps Grimlawn's arm and spills his drink. The worst part of the game was when we got into a battle situation. See, the whole point of Magic and Monsters is that you're supposed to kill as many monsters as possible so you can get points and move up in levels. But I don't really think Mom got that concept. You run into a pack of orcs and they look hungry. We give them all of food. After about an hour of things going like this, I decided to quit, so I gathered up myself and me and Mom headed home. On the way back, Mom was really talking to Magic and Monsters, saying how it could help me with my math skills and all stuff like that. All I can say is I hope she isn't planning on becoming a regular at these games, because the first chance I get, Mom's getting handed over to a pack of orcs. After school to game. Dang it. Drink down the wrong pipe. After school today, Mom took me to the bookstore and bought just about every Magic and Monsters book on the shelf. She must have dropped about $200, and she didn't even maybe cash in a single Mom buck. Fuck. Excuse my language. Crap. Sorry. I realized maybe I addressed Mom a little too quick, and maybe it wasn't such a bad thing having her in our group after all. I was all set to take my new books up to Leland's, but that's when I found out there was a catch. Mom actually bought all those books so me and Rodrick could play Magic and Monsters together. She said it was a good way for the two of us to work out our differences. Mom told Rodrick she wanted him to be the dungeon keeper, just like Leland. Then she dumped the pile of books on Rodrick's bed and told him to start studying up. It was bad enough playing in front of Mom at Leland's house, but I knew playing with Rodrick would be about 10 times worse. Mom was serious about me and Rodrick playing together, so I knew I was going to have to go through with it. I spent about an hour in up in my room making up characters for names Rodrick could have made fun of, like Joe and Bob. Once I was finished, I met Rodrick in the kitchen and we started our game. You and your group of nerds fall into a pit and it's full of dynamite and you blow up the end. I guess I should be grateful that it was over with quickly, and I just hope Mom saved her receipts on those books. The teachers have really been cracking down on kids copying off each other each year. Remember how I said I was glad I got put next to Alex Ruda in pre-algebra? Well, that hasn't done me any good. Mrs. Lee is my pre-algebra teacher, and I'm guessing she also had Rodrick when he was in middle school, because that woman watches me like a hawk. Sometimes I think it would be really cool if I had a glass eye or something like that. First of all, I could use it to play all sorts of wacky tricks on my friends. He'll catch, okay, what is it? But the main thing I'd use it for is to help me get better grades. On the first day of school, I'd aim my glass eye down like this. Glass eye, real eye. I'd go up to the teacher and say, listen, I just wanted to tell you I have a glass eye, so don't go think I'm looking at other people's papers. Okie dokie, thanks for letting me know. Then during the test, I'd aim my glass eye down on my own paper, and I'd look at some brainy kid's paper with my real eye. I could copy it away, and the teacher would be too dumb to notice that poor glass eye kid. Unfortunately, I don't have a glass eye, so if Mom asked me why I flunked my pop quiz in pre-algebra today, that's my excuse. Rodrick's been hitting Mom and Dad up for cash lately, so I guess the Mom Bucks program isn't really working out for him. Mom has tried to make Rodrick do more shows to earn more money, but that hasn't been going too well. Is this how you do it? You need to be using a clean rag, son. But tonight, Mom figured out a way Rodrick could earn more cash. My school sent home a newsletter saying that music education has been cancelled because of the budget cuts, so parents should get their kids private music lessons. Mom told Rodrick he could give me private drum lessons and that she would pay him for it. I guess Mom came up with the idea because lately Rodrick's been telling everyone he's a professional drummer. There's this local show called the Community Follies for all the neighborhood parents do a bunch of comedy skits, and it's been running on local theater for about 2 weeks. The other night, the regular drummer got sick, so Rodrick filled in and he got paid $5. Coney drug, yuck. I don't know if that really makes Rodrick a professional drummer, but I did stop me from using it to score points with the girls at school. My brother's a professional drummer. My mom told Rodrick he should start giving me drum lessons. He wasn't too hot on the idea, but the mom said she would pay him $10 a lesson so that I could get a bunch of my friends, and I could get a bunch of my friends to sign up too. So now I've got to recruit some people for Rodrick's Drum Academy. I can already tell this is going to be a lot of fun. I couldn't get any of my friends to sign up for Rodrick's drum school except Raleigh, and I kind of had to trick him into doing it. Raleigh's always saying he wants to learn how to play the drums, but he wants to play the kind they use in marching bands. I told Raleigh I knew for a fact that Rodrick was going to cover all that stuff in week 4, and that got Raleigh pretty excited. I was just glad I wasn't going to have to take drum lessons all by myself. Raleigh came over after school, and we went down to the basement to start our first lesson. Rodrick started us off with some pretty basic drum drills. There was only one practice pad and 2 drumsticks, so Raleigh had to use a paper plate and some plastic utensils, but I guess that's what happens when you're the last person to sign up for a class. After about 15 minutes, Rodrick got a call from Wold, and that put an end to our first lesson. Class is dismissed early today. Mom wasn't too happy to see me and Raleigh upstairs so soon as she sent us back down to the basement. She said not to come over until Rodrick had at least given us a practice assignment, so he did. Your homework is to listen to some music with drums in it. Me and Raleigh had drum lessons with Rodrick again today. Well, Rodrick might be a good drummer, but he's not a good teacher. Me and Raleigh tried our best to do the drills Rodrick taught us, but every time he messed up, Rodrick would get frustrated. Wrong, oops. Eventually, he got so fed up that he took all the drumsticks away. Rodrick sat down at his drum set and told us to watch him alone. Then he started doing this really long drum solo that didn't have anything to do with the drums, with the drills he was teaching us. Rodrick didn't even look up from his drum set when me and Raleigh left and went upstairs. I'm not complaining though, because the way I see it, this way everyone wins. We've got a history paper due the day before Thanksgiving. I'd better start getting serious about it. The teachers are getting a lot stricter about the quality of work we turn in, and the way I usually do things isn't working so good anymore. Last week we had a paper doing science, and Mrs. Breckman said we had to choose an animal to write about, so I picked the moose. I know I should have gone to the library and done research, but I just decided to wing it. The Amazing Moose by Greg Heffley, Diet. The moose eats many things, but the list would be way too long to put in this paper. So I will save us all some time by just putting by just listening to things that the moose does not eat: bubblegum, metal, pizza, your pizza. So no, really, I couldn't. Even though the moose habitats are set up all over the place, the moose is almost extinct. But you smell a heck of a lot better than antelopes. I said extinct. Oh, everybody knows moose evolved from boats, just like people did. But somewhere along the line, people got arms and the moose got stuck with those useless horns. Yay, rats. The end. I actually thought I did a pretty good job, but I guess Mrs. Breckman must be an expert on mooses or something, because she made me go to the library and start the paper over from scratch, and my next paper isn't going to be any easier. I have to write a poem about the 1900s for Mr. Huff's class, and I don't know the first thing about history or poetry, so I guess I'd better start hitting the books. I was up at Riley's playing board games yesterday, and the craziest thing happened. When Riley was in the bathroom, I noticed that there was some play money sticking out of the box of one of the other games. I couldn't believe my eyes, because the play money inside that game was the exact same kind of money Mom uses for Mom bucks. When I counted it up, there was something like $100,000 in cash in that box. It only took me about 2 seconds to figure out what to do next. What should we play now? Gotta go. Excuse me. When I got home, I ran upstairs and stuffed the money under my mattress. I tossed and turned all night trying to figure out what to do with my new Mom bucks. I realized Mom would probably have some way of knowing the difference between phony Mom bucks and the real thing, so this morning I decided to try a little experiment. I asked Mom if I could cash in some Mom bucks so I could buy some stamps to write to my pen pal. I was really nervous when I handed Mom the money, but she took it without even blinking. I can't believe my luck. I figured I could make this $100,000 last all the way through high school and maybe even further. I might not even have to get a real job later on. The trick will be to not cash in too much at one time, or Mom would know something's up. And I have to remember to own a few Mom bucks for real here and there, so she doesn't get too suspicious. I will say one thing for sure though, and that's I won't be using any of the money Mom gave me to buy stamps. I got a picture of my pen pal Mamadou in the mail yesterday, and that pretty much killed any chance of me writing him back. Super cool. My big history paper is due tomorrow, but they've been saying all week that it's going to snow about a foot tonight, so I haven't really been sweating it all that much. At about 10, I peeked out the window to see how many inches of snow were on the ground so far, but I couldn't believe my eyes when I pulled back the curtain. And man, I was counting on school being canceled tomorrow. I turned on the news to see what happened, but the other guy was telling a totally different story than he was 3 hours ago. We really dodged a bullet this time, Bob. You could say that again, Barbara. Ha ha ha. That meant I had to get cracking on my history paper. The problem was it was too late to go to the library, and we don't have any books in our house that are about the 1900s, so I do had to think of something quick. Then I had a great idea. That has bailed Rodrick out a million times on the school paper, so I figured he could help me too. I told Dad about my situation, thinking he would jump right in and help. I guess Dad has learned his lesson in that department. Good luck with that. Rodrick must have overheard me talking to Dad, because he told me I should follow him downstairs. You know how Rodrick had Mr. Huff, my history teacher in middle school? Well, it turns out Mr. Huff gave Rodrick's class the exact same assignments when he was in my grade. Rodrick dug around his trunk drawer and found his own old paper, and then he told me he would sell it to me for $5. I told him there was no way I would do it. I admit it was pretty tempting, because number one, since all Rodrick's assignments have gone through Dad, I knew Rodrick got a good paper on his. I knew Rodrick got a good grade on his paper, and number two, it was in one of those clear plastic binders that teachers go crazy for. Plus, I had a huge stash of Mom bucks under my mattress upstairs, so I knew I could pay Rodrick that. But I couldn't do it. I mean, I've copied off of people's papers on quizzes and stuff before, but buying a paper off of someone would be taking it to a whole nother level. So I decided I was gonna just have to suck it up and do the paper myself. I started doing some research on the computer, but at about midnight, the worst possible thing happened. The power went out. But that's when I knew I was in some serious trouble. I knew I'd flunk history if I didn't turn in a paper. So even though I didn't want to, I decided to take Rodrick up on his offer. I scraped together for $500 in Mom bucks and went down to the basement. But Rodrick didn't let me off that easy. My fees has gone up. Rodrick told me that his new price was $20,000 in Mom bucks. I told him I didn't have it, so he just rolled over and went back to sleep. At that point, I was really desperate, so I ran upstairs and grabbed a big handful of $1,000 bills and brought them down to Rodrick's room. I gave him the money and he turned over the paper. I felt really bad about what I did, but I just tried not to think about it and went back to sleep. On the bus ride to school, I took Rodrick's paper out of my bag, but I took one look at it and knew something was seriously wrong. Uh-oh. First of all, the poem wasn't typed out. It was in Rodrick's own handwriting. That's when it hit me. Dad only started doing Rodrick's papers for him once he got to high school, so that meant this paper was Rodrick's own work. I started reading Rodrick's paper to see if I could still use it, but apparently Rodrick was even worse about doing this research than me. 100 years ago by Rodrick Catholic. Sometimes I sit and wonder about stuff I do not know, but like what the heck, the Earth is like 100 years ago. Did the cavemen ride on dinosaurs to the flowers even grow? Well, we could guess what that was back 100 years ago. I wish they built a time machine and they picked me to go to check out what the scene was like 100 years ago. Did giant flowers rule the Earth? What desert was filled with snow? I wonder what the story was 100 years ago. FC me. I guess I learned my lesson about buying a paper off someone, or at least off of Rodrick, when third period rolled around. I didn't have anything to turn into Mr. Huff. I guess that means I'll be taking summer school for history, and my day got a whole lot worse after that. When I got home from school, Mom was waiting for me at the front door. You know what that stack of bills I paid Rodrick with? Well, he tried to cash them all in at once to get money for a used motorcycle. I'm sure Mom knew something was fishy since Rodrick has never owned a single mom buck on his own. Rodrick had told Mom where he got the money, and she dug around my room until she found my stash under the mattress. And Mom knew she never put $100,000 into circulation, so she confiscated all my cash, even the ones I owned for real. But I guess that's the end of the Mom Bucks program. To be honest with you, I'm kind of relieved. Sleeping on that pile of cash every night was really stretching me out. Mom was mad that I tried to put one over on her like that, so she gave me a punishment, but I got that out of the way before dinner. Mom says we have to clean the whole garage. Shoot. Today was Thanksgiving, and it started off like it always does with Aunt Loretta showing up 2 hours early. Mom always makes me and Rodrick entertain Aunt Loretta, and that means talk to her until the rest of the family shows up. The biggest fights me and Rodrick has ever had were over who has to greet her first. The rest of the family started trickling in around 11. Dad's brother, Uncle Joe, and his kids were the last ones to show up around 12:30. Uncle Joe's kids all called Dad the same thing. Hi, Uncle Frank. Mom thinks it's really cute, but Dad swears that Uncle Joe tells his kids to do it on purpose. Things are pretty tense between Dad and Uncle Joe because Dad is so mad at Uncle Joe for something he did last Thanksgiving. Back then, Manny had just started potty training, and he was doing pretty good. In fact, he was probably about 2 weeks from being out of diapers. But Uncle Joe said something to Manny that changed everything. Better look out for the potty monster, little fella. It was 6 months before Manny would even step foot in the bathroom again. Every time Dad changed a dirty diaper after that, I heard him cursing Uncle Joe under his breath. We had dinner around 2, and then people went into the living room to talk. I didn't feel like talking, so I went into the family room to play video games. Eventually, I guess Dad had enough of the family too, so he went downstairs to walk on a civil war battlefield, but he forgot to lock the door to the furnace room, and Uncle Joe walked in after him. Uncle Joe seemed pretty interested in what Dad was working on, so Dad told him all about it. Dad gave Uncle Joe this big speech about the 150th Regiment and the role it played at Gettysburg, and spent about a half hour describing the whole battle, but I don't think Uncle Joe was really listening to Dad's speech. Nice toys, big brother. Thanksgiving didn't last too much longer after that. Dad went upstairs and turned up the thermostat until it got stuffy and everyone cleared out, and that's pretty much how Thanksgiving ends every year at our house. You remember how I said Mom and Dad were going to eventually find out about Rodrick's party? Well, it finally happened today. Mom sent Dad out to pick up the pictures from Thanksgiving, and when Dad got back, you could tell he wasn't happy about something. The picture in Dad's hand was from Rodrick's party. It looked like one of Rodrick's fans accidentally took a picture with Mom's camera, which she keeps on the shelf above the stereo, and when he took the picture, it captured the whole scene. Rodrick tried to deny that he had a party, but everything was right there in the picture. So there's oh my God. Rodrick tried to deny that he had a party, but everything was right there in the picture. So there really wasn't any point. Mom and Dad took away Rodrick's car keys and told him his punishment is that he's not allowed to leave the house for a whole month. They were even mad at me because they said I was Rodrick's accomplice, so I got hit with a 2-week video game ban. Mom and Dad have been all over Rodrick's case ever since they found out about his party. Rodrick usually sleeps until 2 in the afternoon on weekends, but today Dad made Rodrick get out bed by 8 a.m. Making Rodrick get out of bed early is a pretty big blow to him because Rodrick loves to sleep. One time last fall, Rodrick slept for 36 hours straight. He slept all the way from Sunday night until Tuesday morning, and he didn't even realize he missed a whole day of his life until Tuesday night. Hey, where's Monday Night Football? But it looks like Rodrick has found a new But it looks like Rodrick has found a way around the new 8 o'clock rule. Now when Dad tells Rodrick to get out of bed, Rodrick distracts himself upstairs with him, and he sleeps on the couch until it's time for dinner. So I guess you gotta give this round to Rodrick. Mom and Dad are going to Ray again this weekend. They were dropping me and Rodrick off at Grandpa's. They said they were gonna let us stay home, but we proved we can't be trusted on our own. Grandpa lives over in Leisure Towers, which is this old folks' home. I had to spend a week there with Rodrick a few months ago, and it was the low point of my whole summer. Minnie is staying with Grandma this weekend, and I'd give anything to trade places with him. Grandma always has a fridge stocked with soda and cake and stuff like that, and she has cable TV with all the movie channels. The reason Minnie's going to Grandma's is because Minnie is Grandma's favorite, and all you need to is take one look at a refrigerator for the proof. But if anyone ever accuses Grandma of showing a favor, she gets all defensive. I love all my grandchildren the same. And it's not just the pictures on the fridge either. Grandma has Minnie's drawings and stuff hanging up all over the house. The only thing that Grandma has from me is this note I wrote her when I was 6. I was mad at her because she wouldn't give me any ice cream before dinner. So here's what I wrote. I hate you, Grandma. Grandma has kept that note all these years, and she's still holding it over my head. And this is what my wonderful grandson Gregory made for me. I guess every grandparent has a favorite, and I can understand that, but at least Grandpa is upfront about it. Gregory is my favorite. Well, Mom and Dad dumped me and Rodrick off at Grandpa's today, just like they said they were gonna do. I started looking for ways to entertain myself, but there's nothing in Grandpa's condo that's fun to do, so I just sat down with him and watched TV. But Grandpa doesn't even watch real shows. He just keeps his TV tuned to the security camera that's in the front lobby of his building. And after a few hours of that, you start to go a little nuts. Oh, sure, Barry Grossman has time to go out for a 3-hour walk, but he doesn't have time to return my vacuum. At about 5, Grandpa made us dinner. Grandpa makes this awful thing called watercress salad, and it's the worst thing you've ever tasted. It's basically a bunch of cold green beans and cucumbers folded in a pool of vinegar. Rodrick knows I hate watercress salad more than anything, so the last time we stayed out at Grandpa's, Rodrick made sure to pile it on my plate. Greg loves watercress salad. I had to sit there and choke down every bite so Grandpa's feelings wouldn't be hurt. And guess what I got as a reward for cleaning my plate? Here you go. Tonight, Grandpa gave us our salad, and I acted like I was gonna eat it, but then I just stuffed it all in my pocket when no one was looking. It felt pretty disgusting when the cold vinegar started running down my leg, but believe me, it was about 1,000 times better than having to eat it. After dinner, the three of us went into the living room. Grandpa has all these really old board games, and he always makes me and Rodrick play them with him. He has this one game called Gut Busters, where one player reads a card and the other player tries not to laugh. I always agree with Grandpa, mostly because the jokes don't make any sense to me. Putting economic policy before fiscal responsibility is like putting the cart before the horse. Ha ha ha. I always beat Rodrick too, but that's because Rodrick loses on purpose. Whenever it's my turn to read a card, he makes sure he has a big mouthful of milk. At 10, I was ready for bed, but Rodrick called the couch, and that meant I had to sleep with Grandpa again. I can say if Mom and Dad were trying to teach me a lesson for covering for Rodrick, well, mission accomplished. Could he put my teeth in that glass? Rodrick has a big science fair project due right before Christmas break, and it looks like Mom and Dad are making Rodrick do this one all by himself. Last year, Rodrick's science project was called "Does watching violent movies make people think violent thoughts?" I guess the idea was to have people watch whole movies and then draw pictures afterward to show how the movies affected them. But it was really just an excuse for Rodrick and his friends to watch a bunch of horror movies on school night. Scream Trump. So Rodrick's friends got the movie watching part done, but they didn't draw a single picture, and the night before the science fair, Rodrick didn't have anything to show for himself. So me, Mom, and Dad had to bail Rodrick out. Dad typed up the paper, Mom made the poster board stuff, and I had to draw a bunch of pictures. I did my best to imagine what teenagers would draw after watching violent movies. The thing that really stinks is that I caught heat from Mom when she saw my drawings because she said they were disturbing, and that's why I was only allowed to watch G-rated movies for the rest of the year. But if you want to talk about disturbing, you should have seen some of the stuff Manny was coming up with those days. One night, Rodrick accidentally left one of his horror movies in the DVD player, and when Manny went to turn on cartoons the next day, he got Rodrick's movie instead, Scream Chomp. I came across a couple of Manny's drawings after that, and some of them were enough to give me nightmares. Mom and Dad set up a due date for Rodrick on his science fair project, and by 6 tonight, he was supposed to tell them the theme for his experiment, but at 6:45, things weren't looking so good. Rodrick was watching a show about astronauts and what happens to them after they've been up in space for a long time. The show said that when astronauts get back to Earth, they're actually taller than when they left, and the reason is because there's no gravity in space, so the spines decompress or something. But that gave Rodrick the idea he was looking for. Rodrick told Mom and Dad he was going to do a science experiment on the effect of zero gravity on the human spine, and from the way Rodrick is talking up, you think the results of it, you'd think the results of his experiment were going to benefit mankind. That seemed pretty impressed, so maybe he was just relieved that Rodrick actually came through on his first task, but I think Dad started to see things a little different later on when he told Rodrick to take the trash out to the tub. I'm doing my research. Yesterday at school, they announced tryouts for the big winter talent show. As soon as I found out about it, I came up with this awesome idea for a comedy skit that me and Riley could do, but I admit the real reason I wrote it was to give myself an excuse to talk to Holly Hills, who is Heather Hills' sister and the most popular girl in my grade, the boy whose family thinks he's a dog. Look, honey, our dog is sitting on his hind legs. I am a person, not a dog. Hey, you're not supposed to be up on the couch, you dumb butt, but I'm not a dog. I'm your son. Don't you growl at me. We're going on a romantic vacation. I guess we'll have to put you in the kennel, but I want to go with you guys. Well, woof 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 to you too. The end. Credits to writer Greg Heffley, director Greg Heffley, dad Greg Heffley, mom Holly Hills, dog boy Riley Jefferson. I showed Riley the script, but he wasn't too enthusiastic about the idea. You think Riley would be grateful that I was going to make him a big star, but like Mom always says, there are some people you just can't please. Mom went and found someone else who partnered with Riley went and found someone else to partner with for the talent show. He's going to do a magic act with this kid from his karate class named Scotty Douglas. And if you want to know if I'm jealous, let me put it to you this way. Scotty Douglas is in the 1st grade, so Riley would be lucky if he doesn't get beat up at school for this. So having one big talent show for the elementary school, the middle school, and the high school. So that means Rodrick and his band are going to be in the same competition as Riley and Scotty got Douglas. Rodrick's all fired up about the talent show. His band has never played in front of a crowd, so they see this as their big chance to get noticed. Rodrick is still grounded, but the rule is that he's not allowed to leave the house, so his band just comes over every day and practices down in the basement. I think Dad's starting to wish he had voted Rodrick's punishment a little differently, but if Rodrick's band really thinks they can win this talent show, they better get serious and play some actual music, because they spent the last 2 practices fooling around with a new echo pedal they got over the weekend. Somebody farted. Dad ended Rodrick's punishment 2 weeks early because he was going bonkers listening to Loaded Diaper practice every day. So tonight, Rodrick went to his friend's Rhodes for the weekend. With Rodrick out of the house, I went to the basement with 3. So I invited Riley over to spend the night. Me and Riley bought a bunch of candy and soda, and Riley bought over his portable TV. We even managed to get our hands on a couple of Rodrick's horror movies, so we were all set. But then Mom came downstairs with Manny. Look, he came to join you. The only reason Mom dumped Manny on us was so he could spy and tell her if we were doing anything wrong. Every single time I've had a sleepover, Manny has ruined it. The last time Riley slept over was a roast. Manny must have gotten cold in the middle of the night, so he crawled into Riley's sleeping bag to get warm, scream. That freaked Riley out enough to make him go home early, and he hasn't been back to spend the night ever since. It looked like Manny was going to ruin another sleepover. Me and Riley couldn't watch our horror movies with Manny around, so we decided to just play board games instead. But I'm a little sick of board games, and besides, Riley was kind of driving me crazy. He needed to go to the bathroom every 5 minutes, and whenever he'd come back downstairs, he'd kick a pillow across the room. Booyah! It must have been funny. It might have been funny the first couple of times, but then it really started getting on my nerves. So the next time Riley went upstairs to use the bathroom, I played a prank on him. I put one of Dad's dumbbells underneath a pillow, and sure enough, the next time Riley came downstairs, he gave it a big kick. Well, that did it. Riley started blubbering like a baby, and I couldn't quiet him down. And with all the racket Riley was making, Mom came downstairs. Mom took a look at Riley's big toe, and she seemed pretty concerned. I think Mom's sensitive about Riley getting injured in our house after the tinfoil ball incident, so she drove him right home. I was just glad she didn't ask us how it happened. As soon as Mom and Riley walked out the door, I knew I'd better start walking on. Manny saw me put that dumbbell under the pillow, and I knew he would tell Mom what I did, so I came up with an idea to keep him from snitching. I packed some bags and told Manny I was going to run away from home so I didn't have to face Mom for what I did. So I walked out the door and acting like I was leaving for good. Goodbye, old family. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. I got an idea from Rodrick. He used to pull the same kind of thing on me when he did something bad, and he knew I was going to tell on him. He would act like he was running away, and then 5 minutes later he would just walk back inside, and by that time I was ready to forgive him for whatever he did. So after I told Manny I was leaving home, I shut the door and waited outside for a few minutes. Then when I opened the door, I expected to see him crying in the foyer, but Manny wasn't where I left him. I saw him walking around the house looking for him, and guess where he was? Down in the basement eating my candy. Anyway, if letting Manny eat my candy is the price I have to pay to keep him cry, I can live with it. After I woke up this morning, I went down to the kitchen, but one look at Mom's face told me that Manny sold me out. Manny told Mom everything. He even told her about the horror movies. Don't even ask me how he knew about that. Mom made me call Riley to apologize, but then she made me talk to his parents and apologize to them too. So I don't think I'm going to get invited back over to Riley's house anytime soon. Then Mom got on the phone with Mrs. Jefferson. Mrs. Jefferson said Riley's big toe was broken and that he had to stay off it for a week. Then Mrs. Jefferson said Riley is heartbroken because this means he'd have to miss the talent show tryout, so he's been practicing his magic act with Scotty Douglas all week. So Mom told Mrs. Jefferson that I would be happy to fill in for Riley at the tryouts. I started tugging at Mom's sleeve to let her know this was a terrible idea, but of course she just ignored me. After Mom got off the phone, I told her the last thing I needed at school is to be on stage doing massive tricks with a kid who was in pull-ups a year ago, but Mom made me go through with it anyway. She took me down to Scotty's house and explained the situation to his mother, so now there was no getting out of it. Mrs. Douglas invited me inside, and me and Scotty went up to his room to start practicing. Well, the first thing I found out is that Riley and Scotty were not equal partners in this act. Riley was actually Scotty's assistant. I told Scotty there was no way I was going to be a magician's assistant to a first grader, but Scotty said it was his magic set, and he started throwing a big tantrum, so I just went along with the idea to keep Scotty quiet, because believe me, I did not need any more trouble. Then Scotty came to me this shirt that was covered with all these sparkly sequins, and he told me that it was my costume. It looked like something Grandma would wear to bingo. I told Scotty maybe I could wear something cooler like a leather jacket, but he said that wouldn't be magic enough. Anyway, it turns out all I have to do for the act is hand Scotty a prop every once in a while, so maybe it really isn't going to be all that bad. But ask me how I feel again if we get in and we have to perform on stage in front of 500 people instead of Scotty's baby sister. And for my next trick, I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you one good thing that's come out of practicing this magic act with Scotty Douglas. It's given me a bunch of good ideas when we're creating the Cretan comics. Riley quit doing his comic strip, suing Mama for the school newspaper a few months ago because he said he wants to have more time to play with his Dino Blazer action figures. That means the cartoonist job is open again, and maybe I have a shot. I'm gonna make this apple disappear. Oh boy, ta-da, you didn't make it disappear, you just ate it. Uh-oh, you figured out my trick. You didn't even eat the whole thing. Okay, watch this. Now ain't that magic? That's not magic, it's just a lighter. Oops, I thought it was magic. Boo, you're not a magician, you're an idiot. Plus, that's not even a magician's head, it's an Abraham Lincoln hat. Oops. Well, good news on the talent show. The tryouts were today, and me and Scotty didn't make it in. Okay, so maybe I could have done a better job as Scotty's assistant, but I didn't blow it on purpose. I just forgot to hand him his props once or twice. We were the only ones who didn't make the cut, and that actually is kind of embarrassing. I know we weren't exactly the best acts trying out today, but we weren't the worst either. Some of the acts that got in were a lot lamer than our magic act. This kindergartner named Harry Gilbertson made the cut, and all he did was roller skate figure eights around a boombox that was playing Yankee Doodle Dandy. Rodrick's band made it in too, and he sang like that's some huge accomplishment. Like I said before, Rodrick is really excited about the Winter Talent Show. In fact, he actually got his science fair project done a day early so he could squeeze in some extra band practices before the big night. But when Rodrick told me his project, his science teacher told him he was going to have to start over and come up with a whole new idea. He said that Rodrick didn't use the scientific method with a hypothesis and a conclusion and all that. Rodrick told the teacher that he actually grew a 1/16th of an inch during the zero-gravity experiment, so that proves he was onto something, but his teacher said that's a normal amount for a boy Rodrick's age to grow in a month. But this really stinks to me, because I've decided to do my science fair project on zero-gravity too, and now it looks like all the research I did was just a big waste of time. Dad told Rodrick he was going to have to just skip the talent show so he could do a new experiment. But Rodrick said he's not going to do it. Rodrick told Dad he doesn't care about school anymore. He said his plan is to win the talent show and use the tape of the performance to get signed to a record label. Then he'd quit school and just do the band full time. It sounds like a terrible plan to me, but I think Dad is pretty open to the idea. Tonight was a big winter talent show. I didn't want to go, and neither did Dad, but Mom made both of us go to show support for Rodrick. Rodrick and Mom went to the school early to bring some stuff that his band needed, so Dad had to ride in the band's van with Bill, and Dad wasn't too thrilled when he ran into his boss in the school parking lot. Hiya, Frank. The show kicked off at 7, and let me just say, I think it was a pretty bad idea to combine the 3 schools for this thing. They ended up having kindergartners singing songs to the teddy bears, followed by 18-year-olds doing speed metal guitar solos, and now for Larry Larkin's performance of Carnage. I don't think Dad approved of Larry Larkin in all his piercings. Halfway through Larry's guitar solo, Dad leaned over and whispered to the man sitting next to him, "What's the worst thing that kid up there could say to you?" "What?" I wish I had time to warn Dad that the guy that he was talking to was Larry's father. "Hi, Dad." Another problem with combining the schools was that there were too many acts, and the show went on forever. At 9:30, they decided to start running 2 acts at the same time to keep the show moving along. Sometimes it worked out alright, like when they had Patty Phil tap dancing while Spencer Kid was struggling. But other times they didn't work out too good, like when Terrence James played a harmonica on a unicycle while Charisse Klein read her poem about global warming. Rodrick's band was the last act to take the stage. Before the show, Rodrick asked me to videotape his band during their acts, but I told him no way. He's been such a jerk to me lately that I can't believe he was trying to hit me up for his favor, so Mom volunteered for camera duty. Rodrick's band got paired up with Harry Gilbertson, the roller skating kid, and I'm sure Rodrick wasn't too happy about that. Who's ready to rock? I noticed Dad wasn't sitting next to me while Rodrick's band played, so I looked around for him. Dad was standing in the back of the gym with cotton balls sticking out of his ears, and he stayed there until the song was over. After Rodrick's band performed, they handed out awards. Rodrick's band didn't win anything, but Harry Gilbertson walked away with the prize for Best Musical Act. But you'll never guess who was the grand prize winner. Was Raleigh's babysitter, Leland. He won for his ventriloquist act because the judges said it was wholesome. I never thought I'd agree with Rodrick on anything, but I started to wonder if maybe he was right about Leland being a nerd after all. Hey, who's the dummy here? After the show, Rodrick's band came back to our house to watch the videotape of their performance. They were all grumbling about how they got robbed, and how the judges didn't know the first thing about rock and roll. So the plan was to just mail the videotape off to some record labels and let the performance speak for itself. They all sat down in front of the TV, and Rodrick put the tape in the machine, but it took about 30 seconds for everyone to realize that tape was worthless. You know how Rodrick asked Mom to videotape the show? Well, she did a pretty good job of filming, but she talked non-stop during the first 2 minutes, and the camera picked up every little comments she made. That show makes Rodrick's arms look so skinny. Every time Bill stuck out his tongue and flicked it up and down like a rock star, you could hear Mom ringing with her opinion. I don't like that. In fact, the only time Mom stopped talking was when Rodrick did his drum solo, but during that part, the camera was shaking around so much that you couldn't even see anything. At first, Rodrick and his bandmates were really mad, but then one of them remembered that the school tapes talent show, and it was supposed to be on this local cable channel tomorrow night. I guess that means they'll all be coming back over to watch that. Well, things have gotten really bad for me in the last few hours. Rodrick and his bandmates came over around 7 tonight to watch the talent show on TV. They sat through the whole 3-hour show until the band came on. The school actually did a decent job of taping the performance, and things were looking pretty good up until Rodrick's drum solo. That's when Mom started dancing. Whoever was doing the film zoomed right in on Mom and kept the camera pointed at her for the rest of the song. That meant Rodrick didn't have anything he could send to record companies. He was pretty mad about it too. At first he was mad at Mom for messing things up, but Mom said that if Rodrick didn't want people to dance, he should play music. And Rodrick turned on me. He said this was all my fault because if I just taped the show like he asked me to, none of this would have happened. But I told him that maybe if it wasn't such a joke, I would have done it for him. We started to yell at each other. Mom and Dad broke us up, and then they sent Rodrick down to his room and me up to mine. But a couple hours later, I went downstairs and I ran into Rodrick in the kitchen. He was smiling, so I knew something was up. Riley told me my secret was out. At first, I didn't know what he was talking about, but then I got it. He was talking about the thing that happened to me this summer. I ran out to the basement. I picked up Rodrick's phone to see if he had made any calls, and sure enough, he looked at it and called every friend of his who had a brother or sister my age. By tomorrow morning, everyone at my school will know the story, and I'm sure Rodrick exaggerated the facts to make the story sound even worse. Now that's my secret out there. Now that my secret's out there, I want to put on record what really happened, and not Rodrick's twisted version. So here it goes. Over the summer, me and Rodrick had to stay with Grandpa at his condo in Leisure Towers for a few days. But there was nothing to do, and I was going bonkers. I was so bored I broke out my old journal and started to write in it. But taking out a book that said diary on the cover in front of Rodrick was a huge mistake. Rodrick stole my journal and made a run for it. He probably would have made it into the bathroom and locked the door if someone had it and left Gutbuster's sitting out cigar. I scooped the book off the floor and ran out into the hallway and down the stairwell. Then I dunked into the bathroom in the main lobby and locked myself in the stall. I cut my feet off the floor so that if Rodrick came in, he wouldn't know I was in there. I knew that if Rodrick got a hold of my journal, it would be a nightmare, so I decided to just rip the whole thing into and the tiny little pieces flushed them down the toilet. It was better to just destroy the thing than risk Rodrick getting his hands on it. But as soon as I saw the ribbon pages out of the book, I heard the bathroom door open. I thought it was Rodrick, so I just stayed completely still. I didn't hear anything, so I peeked over the top of the stall to see what was going on. That's when I saw a woman standing in front of the mirror putting on makeup. I figured the lady just accidentally wandered into the men's room, because people at least with towels are pretty always doing stuff like that. So I was about to speak up and tell this lady she was in the wrong bathroom, but right then, someone else walked in, and guess what? It was another woman. That's when I realized that I was the one who messed up, and I was in the women's bathroom. I prayed that those ladies would just wash their hands and leave so I could make a run for it. But they sat down in the stalls on the other side of me, and every time one woman would leave the bathroom, someone else would come in and take her place, so I couldn't leave. He probably thinks he had it bad when those kids made him eat the cheese. You should try being stuck in the Leisure Towers ladies' room for an hour and a half. I guess someone officially heard me in there and they reported me to the front desk. Within a few minutes, word got around in the building that there was a peeping Tom in the women's room. By the time security came in and got me out there, everyone who left the Leisure Towers was down in the lobby, and Rodrick saw the whole thing unfold upstairs on Grandpa's TV. Now that the story was out, I knew I couldn't show my face at school, so I told Mom she was going to have to transfer me somewhere else, and I told her why. Mom said I shouldn't worry about what other people think. She told me that my classmates will understand that I've just made an honest mistake. So that just proves once and for all that Mom doesn't understand a thing about kids my age. Now I'm kidding myself for not keeping up my pen pal relationship with Mama Do. Because if me and him stayed in touch, maybe I could have gone to Frankfurt as an exchange student. And hit out there for a few years. Comment I was vu. Yeah, whatever. I know is the one place I don't want to go to tomorrow is school, and it looks like that's exactly where I'm heading. The craziest thing happened today. When I walked in the door at school, a bunch of guys called me, and I braced myself for the teacher to stop, and instead of harassing me, they started congratulating me. Everyone was shaking my hand and patting me on the back, and I didn't know what was going on. With all those guys talking to me at the same time, it took me a while to make sense of anything, but here's what must have happened. The story Rodrick told his friends got passed on to the brothers and sisters, and then they told their friends, but by the time roads spread around, all the details got totally messed up. So the story went from me accidentally walking into the women's bathroom in Leisure Towers to me infiltrating the girls' locker room at Crossland High School. I couldn't believe everything got twisted like that, but I wasn't about to set the record straight either. All of a sudden, I was the hero at school. I even got a nickname. People were calling me the Self-Inator. Someone even made me a Self-Inator headband. You better believe I would. But things like this never happened to me, so I wasn't going to pass up my moment of glory. And for the first time ever, I knew what it felt like to be the most popular kid at school. Unfortunately, the girls weren't as impressed with me as the guys were. In fact, I think I might have I think I might have a little trouble getting someone to go to Valentine's stains with me. You're disgusting. You know how Rodrick wanted his fame to get noticed? Well, he kind of got his wish because everyone knows who Lord of Diaper is now. I guess somebody must have thought the tape of Mom cutting loose at a talent show was pretty funny because it's all over the internet. And everyone knows Rodrick heavily as a drummer from the Days in Mom video. Ever since Rodrick's been hanging out in the basement, waiting for the whole thing to blow off. And I have to admit, I do feel kind of sorry for him. I'm getting teased about the video at school too, but at least I'm not in it. And even though Rodrick can be a huge joke sometimes, he is my brother. Tomorrow is the science fair, and if Rodrick doesn't turn in a project, he's gonna flunk out of school. So that's why I offered to help him out with his project. But just this one time, we worked together all night, and I don't mean to brag, but we did a really good job. Anyway, when Rodrick gets first place in the line and passes science, I just hope he realizes how lucky he is to have a brother like me. Do planes sneeze? Hypothesis: planes probably sneeze. Experiment: feathers, pepper, feet. Conclusion: planes still sneeze. Well, I did get the record, but I mean, hey. Oof. It was around 19.5 minutes, and then like 22 minutes, and we're 22 minutes, and we're 22 minutes around. I guess around like 21 minutes per 50 pages, you know? Interesting. I hope it gets accepted soon. I know first time, like the first run, it did get accepted for months. Like, I guess like there wasn't enough moderators. I mean, there's only 3, but I mean, I guess they just, I guess they were inactive or something. I don't know. But that's all. Bye.